Hi guys and welcome to learntocreategames.com. Today we'll have a look at creating an inventory system, looking at raw images, GUI systems and also variables. So let's get started. So the idea here is to create a very simple inventory system. So what we will do first is to start to create an element on the user interface that will symbolize the graphic that will actually symbolize the object we have picked up. So the idea is that, for instance, for whenever you collect objects, you can create, 1, 2, 3, 4 objects, and whenever you collect them, you want an icon to display, to be displayed on screen. So here we create a raw image. It will make it possible for us to add an image to it and to display it on screen. So we'll just change its name to live. Actually, not live. I'm going to call it item 1, okay? Because you're going to have to select and pick up 4 different items. So again, it's going to be called item 1. Then what I need to do is I've prepared 2 different images, so a green dot and a red dot. So those basically will be used for a little example. So what I'm doing here is just taking this image and dragging and dropping it inside the folder called inventory system. So once this is done, if I click on the folder called inventory system, I can see that the green dot appears. So I'm going to do the exact same with the red dot. So again, take this picture and drag and drop it within Unity in the folder that I have just created called inventory system. So this stage I've got one image, okay? Well, I got 2 images actually, green dot and red dot. And what I'm doing here is putting the green dot within the item 1. So again, it means that this green dot will be displayed as a raw image. By default, it's in the middle of your screen. So again, I'm going to press Shift and F to focus on this object. And then the only thing I need to do is to move it. You can see that the white rectangle here just shows where the screen will be. So again here, if I move it to the left, bottom left corner, it will be in the bottom left corner of the screen. So far so good. This object at the right location. Again, you can see properties, texture, color, width and height. We won't actually modify those right now. What we will do now is just create a very simple script. And this script will basically disable this object, this texture if you prefer, and we will try to toggle it first, so to make it appear and disappear, and then we'll try to display several of these items depending on a value or a variable. So again, this script is called display inventory, and what I will do next is I will actually open this script and modify it slightly. Okay, so once this is done, you can see I've got my default function, start and update. So again, I will modify this function to be able to first refer to the object that I've created with the texture, and then to be able to disable it. So the first thing that I'm doing is to create a variable. This variable called item 1. So again, the type will be GameObject, and the idea is that this variable will point to the object that I've just created, which is a texture, a raw image embedded in the GUI. So again, I'm going to declare this variable in the start function. So again, item1 equals GameObject.find. So as you've seen before, GameObject.find tells us that we will find an object for which the name is item1. If you remember well, in my hierarchy window, my item was named item1. Second thing, we're going to just make sure that this item is not activated. So again, item1.active equal false. So again, it's really important to do that in the start function, because if you want to deactivate an object, if it hasn't been declared first, you're gonna run into some issues. So again, declare it first, refer to it first, and then you can disable it and consequently enable it again. The last thing that I need to do is to create an empty object. So this empty object is just to control the game. Okay, so something very simple. It has no render or collision settings, just a position. Okay, and the name is called manage inventory. Again, I'm going to take my script and drag and drop it on top of this object. So when this is done, my script should be pretty much ready to go. And if I test my scene, if I play the scene, we should see that my object should disappear whenever the scene is played. So if I play the scene, this object should disappear straight away. And it should disappear now. That's it. So again, you can see that it has disappeared because in the start function I have disabled this object. So now we'll do something a little bit more interesting, just to show you can disable and enable objects. So again, we're going to look at the key press. So again, we're going to look at the key called O uppercase. And whenever this key is pressed, we will enable or disable the corresponding texture, which is item 1. So again, it's quite similar to what we've done before. The object is still inactive based on the start function. And then what we need to do is to activate it whenever the key called O or O uppercase is pressed. So again, item1.active equals true. Once this is done again, save the script. And I think there is a small modification to make. The term actually input is actually mentioned twice there, so I just need to delete it. And then I need to use key code instead of key, so a small typo there, so key code right there. And then the term input is still appearing twice, so I'm gonna have to go back to my script and make sure that input appears only once. Okay, so again, you can see that there is a small error at the bottom of the script here, so we're gonna have to modify it straight away. So again, just remove the second input term. Okay, so at this stage this is done. So I removed the small typos in my script. I saved my script. Now we have no errors remaining in the script. So if I play the scene again, what you should see is that I'm going to press the key O uppercase several times, and you should see the item appearing and disappearing consequently. So at the moment, basically it will appear once, but what I want to do is to toggle it, so to make sure it appears and disappears successively. So what I need to do is use the exclamation mark, which means that every time we'll press on the O key on the keyboard, it will successively make this object active or inactive. Okay, I'm just going to reverse the active value, which is true or false. Okay, so this seems to work quite well. And what I need to do right now to improve this system is to create a system whereby I could have maybe 5 different or 4 different items to collect. So again, what I did is use the item 1 and duplicate it several times using the Apple D or Control D key. And what I will do right now is to create a system whereby I will have a variable. This variable will indicate the number of objects collected. And every time I pick up an object, my GUI will reflect the number of objects collected. So if I have collected one object, I will display one circle on screen. So using the texture, if I collected 2, it's going to be 2 and 3 and so forth. Okay, so again, it's very simple. So I call this variable name be live, but I think I'm going to change that to nb collected. I think that's going to be more representative of what I want to do. So maybe nb collected, that should be fine. So again, I'm going to change that as well in the update function. Call it nb collected and correcting the O uppercase to an O to a no lowercase. So that's done. And once this is done, what I need to do is, I suppose there are 3 or 4 things I need to do. First, as you can see, I've got only a variable for item 1 at the moment, which is a game object. What I want is to be able to refer to item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. So what I need to do is to create 4 different variables or game objects. So again, I'm going to copy paste very simply 3 times, and then change the name of these variables. So again, I'm going to have a variable called, so I'm going to check here just for the name of these different objects in Unity. And back into the script, again, those variables will be called item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. So once this is done again, in the function start, I will successively initialize these variables. So again, item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4 are initialized. So again, we are looking for the corresponding object. And then for each of these objects, I'm going to make sure that they are not active. So again, it's going to be the same principle, but in this case, the 3 other items will be set to inactive. So active equals false. The last thing I need to do is to check for the value of nb collected. So in this case, if nb collected is 1, so if I've collected 1 item, then I should basically display the first texture. And the same applies to whenever I've collected 2 items. So again, if I collected 1 item, item 1 will be active. If I've collected 2 items, item 2 will be active, and so forth. So again, it's a very simple principle. It could be optimized and improved, but again, this is just to give you an overall idea of how you could create a very simple inventory system. So here I'm just modifying the item that we are activating. So that should be fine. And you will see that although my script contains no errors, it doesn't seem to work, and I will leave you maybe 5 seconds just to see what the issue is there. Okay, so again, if I press on the key O, okay, so at the start I've got nothing displayed, then 1 is displayed, and then you can't see anything else. And what you should see is that the issue is not with the script. Okay, and what I will do is actually display the number of items collected, so again in the script, but the issue really is with the position of the 3 other textures that I have added. If you remember well, when you duplicated the textures initially, they have been duplicated properly. The only thing is that they have been duplicated at the exact same position. So whenever I press the key called O, the issue is that the texture will be displayed, so item 1, item 2, and 3 and 4 will be displayed by the exact same position. This way I will not have the effect that I really want to have, which is to display 5 of these textures. So what I need to do really is to move them along. So again, I'm going to move item 2 to the right. Okay, so item 2 moving to the right. And I'm going to do the exact same for item 3 and item 4. Okay, so again, just to let you know, yeah, you can use any texture that you want. I just created these very simple circles just to give an example, but you can use any of the textures that you want. The type is PNG as well, which means that there is a transparency embedded, which makes sure that you can see the background as well. So if I play the scene again now, exactly, if I press the O key, I'm just be able to display 1, 2, 3, and 4 different items. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and again, if you want to learn more about Unity, please check the website learntocreategames.com. See you. Bye.